Hey T-Squad, welcome back to Dropping the True Crime Tea. Today we're unraveling the chilling story of the Chameleon Killer, Terry Rasmussen. He hid in plain sight for decades, hunting mothers and children across the country under multiple aliases. By the end of this episode, you'll know how modern DNA science finally unmasked him and returned names to his lost victims. Let's dive in. Terry Peter Rasmussen was born December 23, 1943 in Arizona. He dropped out of high school to join the Navy, serving from 1961 to 1967. After his service, he married and had 4 children, but his home life was abusive. His own children later spoke of verbal and physical cruelty, even cigarette burns. By the mid-1970s, his marriage broke down and he vanished from his family, resurfacing under new names. Over the years, he went by Bob Evans, Larry Vanner, Curtis Kimball, and more. He would charm single mothers, move into their homes, and then very nearly erase them from existence. Thanksgiving 1978. A 24-year-old woman named Marlyse Honeychurch invited Rasmussen, then calling himself Bob Evans, to meet her family in La Puente, California. She was a young mother with 2 daughters, ages 6 and 1. After an argument that night, she left with Rasmussen and the children. She was never seen again. That disappearance would remain a mystery for 41 years until we learned he was responsible. Fast forward to November 1981 in Manchester, New Hampshire. 23-year-old Denise Beaudin and her infant daughter vanished after Thanksgiving. Rasmussen was living there as Bob Evans, working as an electrician. Months later, a baby girl was found abandoned at an RV park in California. Under the name Gordon Jensen, Rasmussen dropped her off and fled. That child entered foster care, and clues eventually linked her back to Denise Beaudin. Denise's fate remained unknown as the case went cold. November 1985, Allenstown, New Hampshire. A hunter discovered a 55-gallon drum in Bear Brook State Park. Inside were the decomposed bodies of an adult woman in her 20s and a young girl around 5 to 10. Both had blunt force trauma and were dismembered. No names, no suspects, just a chilling mystery that went cold. 15 years later, in 2000, a second drum was found nearby containing 2 more young girls. Investigators realized the same killer was dumping bodies in barrels and covering his tracks. September 2002, in Richmond, California. A chemist named Unsoon Jun disappeared shortly after marrying a man calling himself Larry Vanner. Friends grew suspicious, and Detective Roxane Gruenheid traced his fingerprints to an alias, Curtis Kimball. Police arrested him for a parole violation. In his garage, they found June's body buried under cat litter. He pleaded guilty in June 2003 and was sentenced to 15 years to life. That conviction under the name Larry Vanner was Rasmussen's only legal consequence before his death. By 2010, Rasmussen, still known as Curtis Kimball, died in prison of natural causes. His true identity and the scope of his crimes remained hidden until 2017. New Hampshire investigators reopened the Bear Brook case using forensic genetic genealogy, the same technique that later caught the Golden State Killer. They extracted DNA from the barrel victims and traced it to the McDonald family in Oregon, who led them to Rasmussen's real name. Suddenly, Bob Evans became Terry Rasmussen, and the decades-old mystery began to unravel. In June 2019, 3 of the 4 barrel victims were finally named: Marlyse Honeychurch and her daughters Marie and Sarah. A dedicated librarian turned a sleuth found an old missing persons post that matched their story. DNA confirmed that one of the girls in the drum was Rasmussen's own child by an unknown woman. That child's identity and her mother's fate remain a mystery. Rasmussen preyed on vulnerable women, single mothers, and partners who trusted him. He would lull them into a fake relationship, then betray and kill them, often dismembering their bodies to hide the evidence. He showed no remorse, even murdering his own daughter. Profilers describe him as charming, manipulative, and sociopathic, a man who could blend into any community, earn trust, and strike when his control was threatened. Though Rasmussen never faced trial for most of his murders, the genetic genealogy breakthrough brought long overdue closure. The Bear Brook case became a landmark in cold case investigations. Victims' families finally learned the truth and laid their loved ones to rest under their real names. The case also inspired other departments to adopt DNA genealogy, giving hope to families of unsolved crimes everywhere. Terry Rasmussen lived a lie, a chameleon slipping through decades under stolen names. But science and tenacious investigators ensured that his victims would not remain nameless. Their stories remind us that even the darkest cold cases can be solved, bringing justice at last. Thank you for joining me, T-Squad. If you found this deep dive fascinating, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts. I'm Kirsty, and this has been Dropping the True Crime Tea. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Keep sipping that tea.